button saying it's okay. Wonderful. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our E-Comm Tribe special campfire session. I wanted to say a big hello to all the new faces on today and a how are ya to our regular E-Comm Tribe members who are with us every week. Last week, we had the opportunity of learning from Kimberly French on how to buy an Instagram or social media page for your business and audit it. So you're already starting with a following of targeted customers for your e-com business. But today, we're thrilled to have Matt Fraser with us. From driving Uber to becoming a multi-millionaire in just 5 years. Matt's journey is a testament to resilience, thinking outside the box, and the entrepreneurial spirit. Matt is all about inspiring and sharing real tips you can take away and implement them into your e-commerce business today. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the campfire. So if you do have any questions during the session, feel free to jot them down or pop them in the chat. When we get to the Q&A, you can raise your hand by telling us more about through the Zoom feature, and we'll get to as many questions as we can. Matt, how are you, mate?
Hey, mate, good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. I just want to give a quick shout out to Ange, Kat, and yourself for having me here. It really is a privilege and an honor to be here, because not so long ago, I was the guy sitting in the room, like probably a lot of people, wanting to be an online seller, because my business was crumbling around me. My back was against the wall financially, and I was just looking for something to get me out of the crap, basically. So I really appreciate you having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure, mate. And so it would be really, really cool if we just start this off. If you can tell us more about yourself and a little bit of your background.
Yeah, let's start off with the context of how I got to where I am now, and a little bit of the journey through being an online seller. So I'm going to take you back to 2016. My restaurant with my wife was absolutely crumbling around me. It was a little bit like what some people might have been through recently with COVID, where the government comes in and just completely destroys your livelihood. It was a bit like that. And we went into $1 million of debt just to try and keep the business afloat. It was around that time that I was searching for something. And some of you have already come across Reliable Education before. Some of you have been there. That's when I found Reliable Education. It was a course about how to sell on Amazon. So I grabbed that with both hands, and I thought, this is going to be my ticket. And coincidentally, Perry, that same week that I joined was actually I was also looking at other things. And one of the things I was going to do was do an MBA. I thought, no, I'm going to do MBA. I'll get onto boards or something, and that'll be my ticket. And I went to the very first, it was at Bond University here on the Gold Coast. I went to the very first lecture. I'd never been to uni before, just a backstep. And went to the very first lecture, and I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if this is for me. And then literally that next weekend was just after I joined, was the first summit. And I was in the room, and there were speakers on stage, and I was just completely blown away listening to their absolutely incredible inspirational stories. And I basically and at that time too, they wanted to do a coaching program, and I rang my wife first. Don't forget, first summit, right? So rang my wife, and we're $1 million of debt. Keep that in the back of your mind. I rang my wife. I said, baby, I think this is it. It's a $25,000 coaching program. And I think we want to do it. And she, being the amazing woman that she is, said, okay, if you think this is the right thing to do, then I back you. Let's do it. So just like that, I forked out $25,000. And you say, well, where did that money come from, Matt? Well, there's things called credit cards. So I put that on credit cards. And so that was the step into the online training, doing a coaching program. Let's say I'd never went back to Bond University again. I just gave that the flick, and then went on to then start a product. That one didn't work out. We can go into more detail about those later, but the first one didn't work out. I then went to Canton Fair. And I know you're talking to a lot of people here about going to Canton Fair, and an incredible journey to go there and experience. I found another product in Canton Fair, went to launch that one, never really got to launching that one. And then something miraculous happened. During that stage, I was devouring information from Grant Cardone, as well as my coach within Amazon, with Rival, Grant Cardone, Gary V, and I'm just, podcasts, everything, everything about selling and getting better. And one of the things that Gary V said in one of his podcasts was, you need to be on social media. I thought, social media. And they said, just yourself, just be yourself on social media. Very, very scary stuff. And he said, if you've got nothing to say, then document your journey of whatever you're doing. So what I did is I started recording myself trying to sell on Amazon, and was posting it up on my Facebook. Shortly after that, a gentleman reached out to me and said, Matthew, I see you're selling on Amazon. I was selling, I think, by that stage, but it was my first product. It was average, very average, and very average product. And so he said, I see you're selling on Amazon. I'd like to meet with you. I have a medical product and I'd like to sell that on Amazon. So I didn't know this guy at all. Coincidentally, he lived in my town, of all the places. So we went and met at coffee club, sat down together, and you know how you fake it till you make it? That was me. I knew a little bit more than him about selling on Amazon, right? So he's presenting to me this medical device, and I don't know anything about medical, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, interesting. Okay, I'm going to go do some research and go on to Zone Guru and things like that. And cut long story short, I signed a contract with him to sell his device on Amazon USA. We sell 100 units within 3 weeks. I was like jumping up and down. I couldn't believe it. 100 units. Someone here just said before they sold 1,000 units within a couple of months. So we sold 100 units in 3 weeks. We thought we were awesome. And then how when you start doing that, you work out, I just did 100 in 3 weeks. So therefore, if I do another 100 in another 4 weeks, and you start thinking how much you're going to make per year, right? It could be $10,000. And from there, it kind of just grew. I put a lot of energy into it. There were some pitfalls along the way. Of course, it wasn't just completely smooth sailing. And fast forward to today, I've now done about $25-30 million total in sales with that product and some other things. I've expanded the empire, not just from Amazon USA through to, and this, mind you, was before even Amazon Australia had launched, right? So, but now I'm in Australia, Canada, UK, Europe, and across also some eBays as well, some other marketplaces that Australians don't even know about, particularly in Europe, and also my own Shopify store, which we launched a while ago. So that's kind of the journey to here, and it's been incredible.
Mate, first of all, wow. Like it's incredible to hear that. What I think was one of the most amazing things there is that you were like, you know what, I'm going to record my journey. And from doing that and all the pitfalls that you made from that, someone's gone, hey, you know more than I do. Can we have a conversation? And you literally just knew a little bit more than him and were able to then turn it into a $30 million empire. Like, and with all the pitfalls in between and everything else that you learned and changed from that point. But it's just understanding, guys, that, you put an acorn in there, what can it grow into if you actually put the work in and just put yourself out into the world?
Yeah. And look, Perry, there were times through that journey, this is through the last, 5 odd years or so. Or is it longer? Is it longer than 5 years? I don't know, 6 years. I think I launched that product in 2018. Okay. So I started Reliable in 2016, launched my first product, which was a car chamois, for those who want to know. Like, what did you do? A car chamois, very incredible stuff. I launched that 1 year after I started the course. That was it was a disaster from a product point of view, but amazing as far as the implementation and learning experience point of view, right? Because even though the product wasn't that great, when I went and met with the medical guy, I knew how to sell that product on Amazon. I knew how to get it from Australia. And funny enough, this obviously the product was manufactured in Australia as well, this medical device. So I knew how to get products over to Amazon and into their ecosystem, and he didn't. And that was really the turning point, though, because at one point, Perry, I was thinking, I'm having this meeting with this guy. I'm thinking, why doesn't he just sell it himself, right? Why is he coming to me? It's because he didn't know how to do it. That's simply it. So for anyone here that knows how to sell on Amazon or even use Shopify, there's so many other people out there who have businesses or in some cases who are manufacturers who don't know how to sell on online or marketplaces. And you come in and you are like the savior. And so what I learned at that point too was, hang on a second, I don't actually have to go and design my own product, figure out the branding and who my customer is and the logos and all the testing and order from China. I didn't have to do any of that. No barcodes, nothing. And I got a completely finished product in the packaging, just handed to me and said, can you please go sell that now, please?
See, so and that's we talked about this briefly, but I'd love for you to explain this. Is that what can people do to be able to start potentially looking for products that are already out there?
Perry, such a good question, because at that moment, this goes back to the story. He's now said to me, I want to sell on Amazon. I'm now doing that. Then I start thinking, well, why is he asking me? I didn't quite cotton on at first. He then refers me to another person who's a manufacturer who was selling cosmetics or something, skin cream in Australia. And she was the national buyer or something like that, someone high up in this company. It was like L'Oreal or something. It was one of the equivalent of, right? And they wanted to get on Amazon as well. So he knew her from somewhere. He speaks to her. She calls me, Matthew, we'd love to get our new cream XYZ onto Amazon. Can you please help? So I'm thinking, geez, this is this massive company. And why are they coming to me? Because they didn't know how to use Amazon. That was simply it. And of course, because I'm now selling this guy's product on Amazon for him, he thought I was incredible. Now, something that you should know behind the scenes that happened to the manufacturer with this medical device was he owned the product. The branding and the TGA and all the medical approvals are all done, but now became a stumbling block getting it into the marketplace. So he'd been to the chemist stores and distributors and things like that. He couldn't get in. Now, what we now know, because I've got some experience, is that you have to have like minimum orders going into distributors. They then put you onto like a 90-day account. And he just didn't have that kind of money to put up like tens of thousands of dollars of stock and then 3 to 6 months later get money back, right? So with Amazon, and this is the same thing with your own e-com store, I could just get, like I sent 100 devices in. Amazon didn't require me to send in 10,000 units and then say, I'm going to pay you in like 6 months, right? It was send 100 units in and they paid me basically 2 weeks later for whatever I'd sold. So the barrier to entry was so much less by getting into Amazon compared to the traditional bricks and mortar that he was trying to get into. So I became his saving grace and saved his business because he wasn't able to get into the bricks and mortar stores. I was the way to get into the marketplace for his product. So,
yeah. And there was that thing you mentioned as well about looking in. There's always people that are looking for their products to be sold, right? And where to find them.
Perry, and folks, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on tangents and then I'll forget where I started.
It's the best.
So I'm going to tell you something really interesting. This one here. So what I was doing is I then realized with this skincare lady that there was a real opportunity here, that there was these companies out there that wanted to get on Amazon. So then my brain shifts to, where else are these people? Where can I go hunt these people down? I started going to trade shows, conventions, like, I don't know, like the sporting summit of something. And at these, like, it was like, Brisbane Exhibition Centre and all, caravan shows, right? I would just walk, it'd be like going to Canton Fair, right? Just walking up and down the aisles, looking at every single product and thinking, can I take this to Amazon for this person? And you could have that like face-to-face interaction. And there was a few times over the years where I literally I eventually got deals out of going face-to-face, talking to people, because I'm coming in there and I'm like, oh, I'm on Amazon USA. Oh my God, that's incredible. Well, can we talk? Yeah, absolutely we can. That's before we even get into numbers and what the margins are. It's just that, is there an opportunity to potentially take this to market on Amazon at the time? So then it was like, hey, well, there's no live places to go to anymore. Where else could these places possibly be? And then I started going and looking up, and I bought some examples, bought some show and tell. Gold magazine, beekeeper magazine, fishing magazine, woodworker. anything that I was not familiar with. Like, I'm not into beekeeping. I don't do woodworking. So I wanted to dig deep into these magazines, and guess what? Because the manufacturers of products are advertising in these magazines, Perry, right? And 9 times out of 10, they're not on Amazon. So I would literally call them up. There was some that were local. I went to. I mean, there was one company. It was a wood. I got it out of a woodworker magazine. It was like a resin that you put into wood, and they were manufacturing it on the Gold Coast somewhere. I just went up, showed up at their door, said, "Hey guys." There was also a rust protection business for car rust protection that did 4-wheel drives. They happened to be local. I just literally went to their door, knocked on it. "Hey guys, I see you're not selling this on Amazon. Can I talk to you about, stocking this?" So that's how it all unfolded. And this type of thing, Perry, people could do like today. Like, they can just go to the news agency. I just go in and be like $100 worth of magazines. It's like, oh yeah, whatever I don't know, I need to research. Then I started going to actual physical shops and just scouring shelves, and I'd have my phone with me and just looking, is this on Amazon? Is this on Amazon? And you're trying to eventually find a sweet spot as well, where it's a particular price point. It's probably light. Okay. So you can ship it easier. I wasn't walking into, I'm not going to go into a forklift factory, right?
No.
It's going to be a bit more, a bit more delicate than that. So right there, Perry, are ways that people today could literally just start scouring magazines in the comfort of your own home
Or the toilet.
Yeah. And so then the other part too was I started looking at Australian made products, because Australia wasn't really big on Amazon at the time at all. Like, they didn't know Amazon. So there's those websites you can go to, like Australian made products. Yeah. Then you want to eliminate ones that are handmade, get rid of those. And you might find, I mean, I know mine's blown up, but you might find, let's say you could just find 5 products doing $20,000 each a month, right? There's $100,000. And if you can get a 20% margin out of that, it's $20,000 profit for you a month. And you haven't even like designed it or anything. You just found the existing product.
Which, what you said there as well, I think, is another way is that you mentioned how you were going to these trade shows and you were literally going to see people face to face. But let's say there's trade shows, guys, happening everywhere around the world. You could literally go find out where those trade shows are. It will have a list of every single manufacturer that is at them. So you really have an unlimited amount of places that you can find these potential companies and just start contacting them. Now, face to face is always going to be winner, but second best is just having a communication with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think I necessarily say I was an Amazon seller. I might say, look, hey, I'm a global distributor and I'm just looking at your product and wondering if you've got marketplaces that are available right now. And, you got to put yourself in their shoes. They're looking for people who can sell their product. So you're a godsend arriving there. People want to do deals. Yeah, they want to make money too. And it's not until after all those discussions and, quite often I would just buy the product. Sometimes if they were busy, I'd buy the product so that I've got it and I can take it home and research it a bit more. Or maybe I'll come back later the next day or something and talk to them, when I might go back to the hotel room and do more research that night. So they want to meet you. That's the mindset I always have. These people want to meet you and they're going to be thrilled to do so. And a lot of the time they were. No one ever said anything nasty. So, I know some people have this thing about going up to people, but I don't have that problem. So
yeah,
the game there.
What would you say? Because you did mention it briefly, but what would you say are the kind of sweet point, rough and ready things that you're looking for in a product when you're choosing it? Because obviously you're not making the product, you're not white labeling it, you're getting something, you're structuring a deal to basically go, okay, how am I going to make a profit from this? I'm not doing all the legwork of creation, but how am I going to make this profitable for myself? And what are you looking for?
Yeah, look, well, first of all, Perry, you've got to do the numbers, right? The numbers are so important. And so through a lot of these negotiations, my ultimate deal was to get the product on consignment. So for those of you who don't know what consignment is they're going to give you the product. I don't put any money down. I ship it over to USA, America, for example. And then when it sells, the next fortnight, for example, I get paid, I give them their cut, right? So let's say their cut was 50%. I just send them money, or they invoice me for that. So that's ideal for me, because now I don't have any issue with cash flow, right? The cash flows all on my side. I don't have to come up with any money just sitting, like dead money sitting in stock. Now, on the medical product that I did, that was not the case. I actually did 100 units the very first time on consignment. Once they sold out, I kind of knew something was up, and I thought, wow, this could be a winner. And I didn't know at the time how big it was going to be, and I thought, because back then too, I was just trying to get to the $100,000 magical number per month, thinking that was going to be incredible. And don't get me wrong, it is incredible, but there's a difference between $100,000 a month and $1 million a month. So, but once I got to $100,000 a month, then I was like, wow, this could just keep going. And then it was obviously all the things that we were taught in places like E-Comm Tribe is optimization of the listings and how to do your advertising and things like that. Now, I mentioned before about doing Shopify. There was an interesting story because I was on Amazon USA only at this point. Okay. Oh, sorry, back to the deal. 100 units first off. 100 units first off. And then I went back and negotiated the price point on that. Now, for me, I get a 5X. So I pay $20 for the unit. It's $100 retail in Australian dollars. Okay. At the time, I also got included free shipping, or they pay the shipping, not free. They pay the shipping included in that price. An incredible deal for me. What that enabled me to do, though, was to have a lot of money spent on PPC, a lot better margin to absorb all the Amazon fees. Now, at the moment, running at about 20% ACOS, right? 20% of sales, 20% cost for those advertised sales, which is incredible. And so, yeah, so that's how that deal came about. And so then I was just paying for the goods up front, then sending them over to America. And at the time, I was still broke, right? So what I did was I paid for them on credit card. I just did credit card, right? Paid for it. And eventually what happened, because the margin was so good, the credit card balance just reduced. And then it got to the point where I was just literally paying for the stock out of cash flow, no debt. And it's at the point now, I've just continued that cycle where there was probably only 1 or 2 times where I had to buy stock because it just exploded and I just really needed to shovel a whole heap of cash into getting some stock. But today I own all the stock. So I've got about $500,000 worth of stock sitting in warehouses at any one time across the world, completely debt-free. And I can go into more things about debt and everything later, but that's probably another half-hour episode. So yeah, Perry, back to you.
Yeah, no, mate. I love just letting you go off on these routes, because it's always tidbits of awesome information, mate. One thing I'm sure that a lot of people would be interested is, can you share maybe some practical tips for entrepreneurs who are just starting out, like especially in terms of these kind of deal structures and understanding the market? Like what would be, if they were going out to contact these people, what should they, like their first key points they should be looking at to make sure that they're getting the best deal for them in negotiation and everything?
Yeah, well, let me just go back to the story again, because the story kind of sells itself, and it's a better explanation. The initial 100 was consignment. So I realized that's the best model, but at the same time, I wanted to secure the deal, and he wasn't willing to do a consignment for the entire future. Okay. So the initial contract I did with him was for 3 years, and that was a fixed price, including shipping, for 3-year period. At some point in that first 3 years, I went back and we redid the contract, and it was 5 years. But what was happening by this point is he was including minimum order quantities. So I had to purchase X amount of units from him every single month. Now, because I'd started off from nothing, we just kind of increased it from that contract to the next contract. And I was confident that it would just continue. And so I was okay with signing up. I think the first minimum order was like 1,000 units a month, right? And in that too was the more I purchased, that was already done in the very beginning. So my goal was to get to 5,000 units a month, because that meant I had the best buy price at that point. So I went from something like $26 a unit down to $20 a unit. Okay.
Right. So what you're saying is that you had it on the contract. It's a flexible contract that you'd look at maybe every year or every 3 years to look at renegotiation. And this is something that you...
No, Perry, we weren't really thinking that far ahead, to be honest. It was like, okay, we'll just do a 3-year contract. And this is the sliding scale of if you buy this, you get this price. So in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't it be incredible if I could buy 5,000 units every month? That's $100,000 worth of stock I'm buying every single month, which means that I'm obviously selling that if I have to buy it, right? So in that, what happened was there was something that came up, and I start thinking about, wow, what happens though if the manufacturer sells out to a big? So I heard a story about another company very similar who got bought out by a big Chinese pharmaceutical company for like 168 million. And I'm thinking, well, that's a problem. So I go back to the manufacturer, said, look, I'm concerned. You're going to sell out, and I hope you do, but I want to make sure that I'm cut in on that deal. So what I negotiated at that point was 10% of the gross sale price went to me, or 5 times my net profit per annum, whichever was the greatest. Okay. So now I was kind of on board for him to go and sell it to a Chinese pharmaceutical company if he had to. And then because I'm going to get my 10% cut. Yeah. And I'm not going to care about then selling on Amazon and Shopify. And so that was done then. Now, fast forward, Perry, I'm then thinking at some point, I remember thinking, I'm going to see if I can sell this business. Yeah. As it was. I had a meeting with a broker, and then he said, look, mate, you've only got, I think by that stage it was like I negotiated to 5 years. Okay. And at this point, I only had something like 2 years remaining in that contract. And the broker said to me, mate, you're not going to be able to sell this for, $5 to $10 million that you're hoping for, because no one's going to buy it with just a 2-year remaining contract. Okay. What did I do? Go back to the manufacturer, negotiated 10-year contract. Right. And he just was like, yep, 10 years. Thanks very much. So now I've got this business that I'm locked in for 10 years without. And so at any point during that time, if he goes and sells it, I'm cut in, and I've locked in the pricing. And so it all worked out really well for me anyway.
Because obviously that's a high level view. You've got leverage there. One of the things is that you've created leverage there because you've shown how successful you are at selling his products. So you are able to ask these negotiation points. So just for everyone, you probably won't be able to ask those particular things at the beginning of a contract with them.
Perry, in the beginning, we're starting small.
Yeah.
Right. We just do the 100. We just, I didn't say, give me 10,000 units and we'll do it on consignment. It was like, give me 100 units and we'll do it on consignment. We're getting to know each other. Right. Once he gets the money, you obviously pay him straight away. He feels good about that. Then you sign the contracts. One of the things I always do is it's 50% down upon purchase order, and another 50% once it's left his warehouse. So I just pay it. I don't stuff around. There's never an email that comes, hey, Matt, we're chasing the money. Right. I get him paid. So he's always looked after, because you want to keep that relationship positive, and you don't want to give him any doubt like, oh, he's trying to do the wrong thing by me. We want to continue the contract, right? If I'm making money, he's making money, we're all good.
Yeah. You also mentioned that, because for most people, when we hear that, it's like, wow, the rocket's flying off. But what were the biggest issues that you came across that you just stood there and went, this could mess everything up?
Yeah. Yeah. Admittedly, by that point, because I didn't have any money owing on the stock, there was a little bit of, I don't know, I slept better at night. So if everything just collapsed, I could be like, okay, look, that was terrible. We lost the stock, but I don't owe any money. And let's say I've made $100,000 that year, for example. I'm good. Okay. But one time there was about 10,000 units that had been shipped in to Amazon. And then all of a sudden I start getting these reviews. Oh, the caps cracked. I'm like, oh my God, next one, caps cracked. Or it was scratched, or it's been used. That was the big one. It was been used. So anyway, it took us ages to figure it out. And what was happening is, because don't forget, he was a new manufacturer too. He didn't know, right? So the device is plastic and it sits in a cardboard box. And what was happening is it was just vibrating in the journey. And so it was scratching the side of the box, right? So people are opening up this medical product thinking it's supposed to be brand new. And it was brand new, but it had scratches on the side. So they're like, oh, it's used. And as you know, with Amazon, that's a big no-no. So I then had to shut the listing down, pull all the stock out of Amazon, and I think I just trashed it, right? And I was like, oh my God. But luckily by this stage, I have a good relationship with the manufacturer. He's like, look, I'm just going to send in new stuff. But we didn't actually know at the time either what the problem was. So we then both went to the plastics factory, which was on the Gold Coast, and sort of explained what was going on. What we ended up doing as a solution was to put it in a plastic bag that was sealed. Then it goes into the box. The next thing we did was other things we hadn't thought of, because don't forget, I'm not a medical person, was we did like little things like sealed the box. Seems so simple, right? You get your Panadol, it's got a seal on it. We never had that. It was just this device in a box and you could just open it and you wouldn't know. So it's now in a plastic bag. It has safety seals on it. So there's a lot of things that we did over the years that I worked hand in hand with the manufacturer to make the product better based on the customer experience, right? There was one other thing that popped up, Perry. I said, so this device, it helps you, it's a breathing device. I said, who else can this service? And he said, well, it could help sporting people like improve their breathing. I said, great, because at the moment it's not targeted at sporting people, it's targeted at sick people. So sporting people aren't going to buy it. But guess what? We were able to make the same device in the same mold, right? So no more tooling, okay? And it was just a different color. And then we just changed the box, said sports device. And then boom, we had a whole new SKU that we're now targeting to a whole new set of people, which in itself, I think it was doing back then, I don't know, $30,000 US a month or something on top of what the other one was doing, right? So again, the manufacturer didn't think of that. I thought of that, just as I'm trying to think outside the box of how we can expand the range. We then did like a filter, and then we did a carry bag later on, and all sorts of things.
Yeah. So how many people here who are, and just in their minds is how many people here are really thinking about the safety of their product initially, right? Because obviously you think about that and you had to scrap the whole of them. But if you'd thought ahead of gone, okay, what about if we put it in some sort of foam casing, or, just those kind of logical things that now you just know as a standard. It's interesting to see how many people have made those mistakes, me included, where something's broken and you're looking at it going like, oh, why didn't I
But it was
pull that
so
off?
stressful though, Perry, like super stressful, because I'm still fairly new, it was the first time I got suspended too. And this leads to something else. I got suspended. I'm totally freaking out. And then I learned how to get out of suspensions, right? You find that there's actually like lawyers that are purely out there to look after Amazon sellers. So you tap into them, you pay them all this money. But they got me out of the hole, and I'm back selling again, right? So, but I remember at the time period that I was like, wow, this is the moment that most people quit. They just throw in the towel and go, nah, it's too hard. I could have wasted $20,000 or something like that. And it's just much easier if I just kind of just go to work Monday to Friday, and I go in and do my job, and then I just go home and watch TV. That's so much easier, less stress, right? And I used to say to people all the time, this is the moment that people quit, and this is the moment where I'm not quitting, right? I'm just finding a way to get over this hurdle. Yeah. Now that became a blessing. The suspension became a blessing. What happened was I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, I can't have Amazon in complete control of my business, right? They could just shut me down at any moment. Then I thought, okay, well, if people are coming to Amazon to buy the product, surely if I advertise it off Amazon, they're going to buy it there too. So what I did ultimately became Shopify store, right? And then I start doing Facebook ads, Google ads. So I'm just like feeding this device into front of people's feeds, right, through Facebook, and they're coming and buying it. So then I open up a whole nother segment. So then it just like, like another $500,000 a month type thing. So, and there's a whole story about, you know, I just started in America, learned how to do that, got that up and running. Then I just expanded it. So just in a nutshell, to wrap that up for everyone who's taking notes, I started in the US, did Amazon. I then did Shopify in the US only. Okay. And once I had those dialed in, I then just expanded to other countries, just like replicate. And yeah, so then the sales grew to, you know, over $1 million a month. And that was the history there, Perry. But it was a blessing. At a point, it was a blessing that happened to me, because otherwise I would have just stayed on Amazon. I wouldn't have gone off Amazon.
Yeah, it speaks volumes that you know, Shopify is such a powerful tool. It is a different route. You have to do your own traffic management, which it can be difficult at first. However, later on, you know, if you get their emails and their contact information, that becomes a free list of people that you can continuously keep in contact and sell to. So it is a different route from Amazon, where people are looking for it. And in my opinion, you know, it really depends on what your goal is. Amazon's a great way to get your stripes initially, and just get, because people are already looking for your product. Like the fact is, Matt, those products that you were searching for, you weren't searching for something completely off the wall. You were finding things that were different, but people were actually searching for them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was so, just as I look back now, the journey that has unfolded has been amazing. And I mean, people always ask me too, Perry, they're like, well, you said that you were like driving for Uber. Now that is true. I was driving for Uber, but that was during when I was still trying to get my first product up and running. And I was, as I said, I was absolutely broke as anything. We're living on credit cards. And just to bring extra money in the door, I went and drove Uber, you know, Saturday nights and during the weekdays. And it was like peanuts, you know, it was like $500 to $700 a week, but that was a lot because it helped pay the bills. So I know what it's like to sort of really do the hard yards. And every day you're thinking, is this going to work? Is this going to work out for me? You know, and then you obviously, even when you get to the selling point, you know, and you have those issues with Amazon, you're like, oh, is this still going to work? But you just power through. And something I haven't even touched on, Perry, is the power of community, being a part of a group of like-minded people. Back then it was Reliable. It's now just simply changed its name and become E-Comm Tribe, with the same amazing people in here with the same knowledge. And that was one of the key factors in really staying in touch with people and bouncing ideas, because you just become like, it just becomes normal that you're an online seller. Yeah. And with the resources that you can tap into. And I remember for me with having a coach, just kept me on track and inspired, and realizing that, hey, you can do this. And that was really big for me.
So, and that jumps onto the next question I had, which is perfect timing, mate. Is we're always big on masterminds and that community thing. Were you part of many masterminds, or and if people don't know what a mastermind is, do you think you can give a kind of an idea of what they are?
I won't say my mastermind was run the best, but it was simply, we got together once a month, and it was just a group of people who were also kind of on the same journey as you. Some were a little bit ahead, some behind, right? So you fit into the mix. In my group, there were already people that were selling on Amazon, which was really big, because there were people there that were like, wow, they've already stepped out that whole journey for you. So you always can just tap into their knowledge, which was so important. And one of the big things that stands out to me was, I remember talking to one of my mastermind guys, and I just wanted to know, you know, is this all just rubbish? And I said, how much money are you actually doing a week? Like, tell me. And he goes, $7,000 a week. I was like, wow. I thought that was incredible. Like $7,000. And which is interesting, because I literally, you know how you get those photos on your phone, like memory photos. Yeah. And I had a screenshot of some notes I took at the very first summit, where I'm sitting in the crowd, I don't know anything, and all these amazing people on stage, you know, who are sellers. And one of the things we had to do, Barry, was write down your goals, right? So funny. My first goal in the first year was to do $10,000 a month, right, with like one product or something like that. And then it was like, year 2, if I can do $20,000 a month. That'd be awesome. And it all the way up to like year 5, it was like $50,000. No, I think it was like $30,000 a month, right? And the thing I've realized since then is that I was just thinking way too small. That the online opportunity is so big because I'm based in Tweed Heads, for anyone who doesn't know, which is northern New South Wales on the border with Queensland, and you just kind of just think about your little world, right? And what the internet just enables you to do with sales, your customers are the globe. And that's what I've been able to tap into with my product.
Sorry, it blows my mind whenever you talk about how it grew and everything. But like now that you've got like a global distribution company, right? That's what you have. Like, what would you say for someone? Obviously, your kind of view on making sure that you start small and grow it out there, but where would you say would be the best place for people to start their Amazon business or their e-commerce business now? Do you think America's too big still, like, or do you think Australia is a great place to go? What would be your best route?
Yeah, just thinking back, if it was literally 3 months ago, I would have said America. America still is big, don't get me wrong, America's big. But I had this shift just recently where I was just started doing $10,000 a day in Australia Shopify.
Wow.
Like, where did this come from? Right. And it started to dwarf, sort of overtake the US.
3 months ago.
Yeah, just I don't know. And I was getting like a 3+ ROAS, I think 3 to 4 ROAS on the Facebook ads, which means for every dollar I spend on Facebook ads, I'm getting $3 to $4 back in sales. So yeah, so I mean, I think there's just opportunities everywhere. I don't want to narrow it down into any particular country, because I know the lessons in the past have always been, hey, go to America, it's the biggest market. It's certainly an easier way to test, because look, getting into America is actually quite easy, to be honest, compared to like Europe or the UK.
Well, when you say it's more difficult, is it just because there's more regulations you found?
Yeah, it's just regulation. Like I'm in Japan now as well, and I have just completely outsourced that. Like I don't speak Japanese. I don't read Japanese. So with this, the entire packaging had to be redesigned, right? And this is going to bore some people, it's a bit job, but when you send products into Japan, you actually have to pay the VAT equivalent up front on your total bulk amount. You have to nominate. You have to say, look, I'm going to be selling this for $100. And they say, great, well, you're going to have to pay $10 a unit upon entry. Even if you say, oh, but what happens if I discount the product out at $50? Too bad. And they've got some software, you can't dodge it, so that they can somehow track it with their U-Butte, systems there, that you can't say, oh, I'm selling it for $50, but then you sell it for $100 and dodge the VAT. So there's that. You've got to pay, the customs, and Japan's a real nuanced country too, and just the way they think, right? So it was just much easier to find another distribution company who just does the Japan market.
And that's another key point there. If you don't know how to do something, find someone who does better than you, and
do you think
learn from them.
All this stuff? Are you kidding me? I'm just a guy from Tweed, for goodness sake.
Spend 4 years learning Japanese and you could do it yourself, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Oh, guys, so first of all, before we say thank you to Matt for everything there, I'm just wondering, has anyone got any like questions or anything they'd love to ask? If you want to put your hand up with the reaction so that we can see, and then we can start letting you through to ask your wonderful questions. Matt, first of all.
Yeah,
sure,
sorry,
mate.
You want to jump in, because I do see one here. I'm just looking at one of the latest ones. It says here from Amanda, so you're not managing an account for them and taking a cut off the top of gross revenue. Look, I'm not doing that, but that is certainly one way that you could, as an Amazon expert, for example, do that. So what that person is referring to is almost like the consignment deal. You're just really an agent selling their product on their behalf. There's no exchange of money really, except for you're just going to keep back, let's say 5% of gross sales or something like that. The benefit with that too is that you don't have the commitment of stock. and you're not paying for the PPC, like the other company's going to do everything, and you're just like you're the Amazon expert essentially. But Amanda, that's not what I'm doing. I've secured distribution rights for particular products, and one thing I didn't even touch on too was that in that contract I actually specified Amazon platform. So I become the exclusive seller, right? Not just a seller, exclusive seller. That's super, super important, because you do not want to do a deal with the manufacturer and then you're just competing with like 10 other people on the same platform. That is a big, big no-no. The other thing I want to drop to, which I didn't touch on, is that if you were to have Shopify or Amazon for a manufacturer, you definitely want to have the Amazon platform, because what we found was that as we did more ads on Facebook and Google, people were driving into Amazon. So they might see your ad on Facebook. They might even go to your Shopify store. But particularly my product is for elderly people. They're scared of the internet. They're like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy this on this XYZ website. What if they're going to steal my money and that sort of thing? I'm going to go to Amazon and see if it's there, because I trust Amazon, right? So, and that's what was happening. Now, if you don't have that in your deal, where you don't have the Amazon platform, then you're missing out on so much extra money. Now, if you can't get that though, then you still have to make sure your numbers work on a particular website. But if you can, it'd be perfect.
Well, there's enough businesses out there hungry to get on there. So I'm sure if you just search a bit, you'd always find one, right? It's just understand it, and that's a really awesome tip, Matt. Like anyone who's thinking about it, get as the exclusive for the Amazon platform. Do that 100%.
The manufacturer, Perry, there's no point for the manufacturer to even have multiple sellers on the platform. What's the point of that? Because it's harder for them to control the customer experience. It's harder for them to control the pricing, because what's going to happen is you're going to now start competing on price points. You're going to start driving the price down, and the manufacturer does not want to do that. So it's in the manufacturer's best interest to have you as the sole seller / distributor, in my opinion. So then what I did is, as the sales increased, I then started adding in countries and platforms into the contract. I kind of missed that bit out. So to make sure that I was not just exclusive in Amazon USA, it then became Amazon Canada. And the other thing I tied into it, and now my mind's going somewhere else, is that, so for example, when I went into Canada, I made sure that I was the person with my company who had the medical license to import. Costs a bit of money. I mean, when I say a bit of money, like probably 10 grand or something, right? But if you're doing millions, it doesn't really matter. But what I'm doing is I'm locking up that. That means that every product that goes through into Canada has to come through me. So what I'm doing, locking people out, to ensure that it does come to me. With America, I don't have exclusive for the entire country. So Canada, I have the entire country, whether it's going to be the health sector, pharmacy, online, et cetera, has to come through me. America, I don't have that. I just have particular marketplaces.
Wow. Skin in the game. It's you've gatewayed that, which is fantastic. Hey, Angela, you've got a question.
I do. I thought I'd put my hand up, be the first one to do that. So it's an odd experience. Matt, I just want to talk through the logistics here for people a little bit, including me, because I think it's interesting. So do you structure it up so that you own the Amazon account? So is it like Matt Fraser importing and then you're selling the brand underneath, and same with your Shopify store? Like, how do you actually do this?
Right. So one mistake I made in the beginning was, in Amazon, I thought that the Amazon account had to be the same name as like your company for some reason. You're right. So throw that out the window. It's Matthew Fraser Pty Ltd company. It has an Amazon account, and it's called Matthew's Favorite Things, or Matthew's Healthcare Products. And then within that, I'm selling L'Oreal, and I'm selling Boost Lab product and whatever else underneath it. So really my Amazon account is just the shop. It doesn't have to be the same brand, right? And so that enables me to be quite flexible in what I sell.
Okay.
And does that go for your Shopify store as well? Like, are you branded up as them, or do you have your own branded Shopify store? And that
I morphed in the very, very beginning, Ange. I actually started off with the manufacturer's brand, the brand of the product. And then as he grew out and I also grew, I realized I didn't want to be so linked to him. I wanted to have now the freedom to have my own shop front, Matthew's Healthcare Products, selling his product on my Shopify store. And because it's not his Shopify store, it's completely controlled by me. Because don't forget, I'm just buying the products and putting it into my warehouse, and I'm shipping them out of my own warehouse. I can then have other products in there, and that's what I've done. I put other products in there.
Yeah, because to me, that's the smart thing, is because you don't want to be one branded product and not be able to sell anything else. That way you can,
Right.
yeah.
Particularly because I'm getting so much traffic to the store, I might as well have other things for sale too. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Brilliant. Helen.
Hello. I typed my question as well, just in case. But how do you deal with hijackers on your ACE? Just to give you a little bit of background, I've got a Chinese seller on my trademarked, brand registered, handmade product, and they win the buy box because they listed as a lower price. But in a 24-hour period, they come on and off the listing. So they're in and out all day long. They only stay on there for about 3 or 4 weeks, because in that time, if I'm to raise a complaint to Amazon to say that it's counterfeit, I have to buy one, prove it, and then by the time I go through that process, they're gone.
Yeah. Do you have,
and then they do it all again.
Do you have brand registry on that?
Yep.
Okay. So let me get this right. The manufacturer is selling the same product that you're selling. So you're buying the
I'm
product.
the manufacturer. I make it myself.
Right.
Yep.
Interesting. That's funny because I have the brand registry as well. I've got the trademarks. Now, the question for a lot of people is going to be like, how do I have the trademarks when it's not even my company? And the answer is, the manufacturer has given me the approval to have his trademark protected under my name, because I only hold the Amazon platform. So it's in his interest to have me, right, control it essentially. And I'm dealing with it all the time. Every couple of weeks, I've got rogue sellers. And I'm not buying the product. I know what you're saying. So I'm simply marking it as counterfeit. And then I'm saying I'm not buying the product. And then there's a spiel. Let me,
yeah, because I tried to, reason with Amazon. They can't be selling my product. I make it, etc., etc. I'm the manufacturer, and they didn't want to know about it. They made me. He said, you have to purchase it. You have to prove that it's counterfeit, etc., etc. But
yeah,
they just come and go. And by the time you go through that process, they just open up under another name, and they do it all again.
Amazon are very quick for me. They take them down within like an hour or two, basically. I've just put up, Helen, in the chat there, the exact wording that I use, and I ticked.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I ticked the no, I haven't purchased it. So I'm going counterfeit, haven't purchased it. And then I drop that exact phrase into the description part that they want, more information, whatever it is. And then I just submit, and it works every time.
Wow. Thank you so much, because this has gone on for 6-8 weeks now, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's my free gift. Hopefully you make money now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, don't give up. Don't give up, Helen, because this is the points where you either feel like you need to give up, and if you push through it, you'll see the success come through. So just keep going.
Thank you.
Cool. We had a question from Eliza saying, Matthew, do you find Australians have the same level of trust in Amazon?
I do more sales off Amazon than I do on Amazon in Australia. And I think that's because the Australian landscape, or they're still trained into buying on websites. They still haven't sort of switched over to Amazon. Now, that could just be, in my particular case, I'd be interested to hear what other people who are selling in Australia have to say. So I do, like, for example, when I was doing, if I do $10,000 a day in sales on my Shopify store in Australia, I'm doing maybe 1,000 on Amazon.
Do you think that's going to change though as time goes by? Do you think more people are becoming more trustworthy of Amazon on Australia, or do you think
Yeah, I think so.
it is quite locked in?
I think so. It just takes time, like America's just got so much of a head start than Australia. So yeah, give it time. I think it'll morph into it. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
It's just, because obviously
more control.
whenever I look at the numbers on it, and that's a great point as well, is, how much control do you have on Amazon versus your own? It's just understanding that, whenever I look at the numbers and it's completely skewed. I shouldn't think of it that way, but I look at on Amazon when I'm looking at a product, I look on American, I'm like, that's a big difference in people buying that one product. You've got a smaller amount of people, but then if you look at it logically, if you get in first, you have a very good potential for that to grow rapidly,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
Any other questions there too, Perry? I know there's heaps in there.
Yeah, there are. Did you launch in the UK with any help from a VAT agent, or did you do it yourself? I hear the paperwork is insane by Debbie.
Geez, I did it myself, and I started up a company, and then I realized I'd stuffed it up, and then I had to go and set up a whole new company. And so my advice is don't do it yourself. Just find a good accountant, honestly, in the UK. Now, they have changed the rules, and this is interesting now because like this year, you could just open up a company in literally open up a UK company and be based in Australia. And then what happened is the UK government has changed the rules where you now need to have like an agent who basically acts as the security for their VAT money in the UK. Right? Brutal stuff, because no one wants to put themselves on the line who's actually living in the UK. So the barrier to entry now has just jumped up even further.
I had one from Liz as well. Do you want to come off, Liz, or do you want me to say it for you? Okay, I'll say it for you. Matt, I have been selling someone else's medical product for 18 years via Amazon, but predominantly websites, so as to resell to my database as the product wears out in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great run for about 6 years and owned the Aussie market. And then the competitors came and continually reported me to the TGA for breaching rules in the advertising on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. They tied me up in knots for months with tribunals, and I could not sell during that time pending outcome. Have you ever had that happen with competitors? And if so, how did you handle it? TGA is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I have dealt with the TGA before. So has the manufacturer. And for everyone, so they know, for example, if you have a product that, I don't know, fixes up some skin treatment, I don't know, some skin blemish, and if you're not authorized to say that it does, even if it does, then you can't say it. Okay, so, and they're really particular about it. So you'd have to say something like helps skin, but you couldn't say helps blisters, for example. So to answer the question, I have dealt with TGA. The good news is that the manufacturer, because they hold the license essentially with the TGA, so they really deal with it. I don't deal with it. Right?
Oh, I didn't have that much luck. I had to deal with it.
Oh, was it yourself? Yeah. What a pain. What a nightmare, actually.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I have a massive insurance policy. So it cost me about $20,000 a year to have global insurance against all that kind of stuff too. So that's,
I didn't mind the TGA so much doing it because they have to address concerns, but it was more, all the competitors popping up and just deciding that they would infer that I was using terminology in my advertising that could be misconstrued.
Right. I don't know what you do. I mean, it has come to me as well, and I've simply just emailed them back and said, here's the writing, or it might be one word in there that I put in that I shouldn't have, and I just remove it and send it back, and they just move on then. I haven't really had any bigger dramas than that.
That's good.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. What a pain.
Oh, cheers, Liz. Hope you get that sorted out.
It's a while ago, but thankfully.
We had another one from Amanda. So good, but how do you price your service? I've had companies ask if I will do this for them, but they have multiple product lines, and that blew my mind. It's a bit. How do you structure a deal where there's loads of products and price your service for that?
So I'm not sure what she's saying. Does she want to just be like an agent, or she wants to take on, like, buy the products and sell it herself?
No,
Amanda?
I thought. Oh, sorry, it's me there. I'll chip in. I saw a product locally, and I'd also seen it online on Amazon, but whoever was selling it was doing an appalling job.
Mhm.
And I said to them, that's where I said, this really isn't, how it should happen, and you know what I mean. It really needs to be sold. And they're like, oh, well, just put a proposal together and whatever. And if they had like 1 or 2 products, that's fine. But they've got like 24 lines, and I was just like A, what an enormous amount of work, and B, which is kind of fine. And I don't mind, you could say at the upper end, I'll take 10% of gross, but what's the lower end thing? Do you budget like $1,000 a month for your services, or $1,000 per product line
Okay.
a month? And then suddenly it's, more than 10 grand. And I kind of like, well, that I don't see how that's going to work. I just have no idea. They said, put a proposal together. And I just kind of went, and I'd really like to help them, but I just don't want to sell myself short so that I'm working 36 hours a day. And, or that I can, I don't know. I was just rabbit in the headlights. And just kind of like, whoa, just throw out.
Yeah. Just to be clear, Amanda, I'm not charging the manufacturer a fee for service.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing.
No, I know. Yeah.
I'm not the agent or just like an employee, essentially.
Yeah.
I have a complete distribution model, and I'm buying the stock at essentially a wholesale price, and then I'm retailing it.
Yeah.
So where I make the money is in the margin on the product, not like just charging.
It's a good system. It's a good system. It's great. I mean, I don't know if I could approach
the
them
volume.
with that,
It's fantastic. Yeah, if you get the volume, where you would make money being an agent is that you would have once it's set up, that's the work. The work is in the setup.
I know.
Yeah. But then you could outsource some of the setup, because I'm setting up on Amazon is kind of basic work for a lot of people. It's very basic. So you just pay them, a couple $100 to set them all up, right? Some of these VAs, and Ange knows where they are. And if you come into E-Comm Tribe, are you in E-Comm Tribe?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe book some time with Ange.
I didn't do Reliable. I came in through a different. Yes, I met Ange.
Yeah, they'll have access to these places where you can find these people, right? So remember, we're trying to get rid of the hurdles and make your life easier. And I know that Andy's going to have some experience in where to find these people to make your job easier, so you could take on 100 SKUs if you had to. Yeah. Now, what I was going to say is where you could make the money is rather than just doing just one company, you could do 5 companies, for example. And if you're charging them $2,000 each a month to manage it, that's $10,000. So, and some ideas for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I just jump in there too, because I don't want Amanda you go off on chasing bright shiny objects, because
oh, squirrel.
You need to kind of decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to manage that kind of thing, or do you want to run your own brand? Because Matt's kind of got the best of both worlds. He's running like a private label business almost. He's got one product. He's dealing with one manufacturer. He's not fee for service. He's not doing someone's beck and call for them, which is what you would be doing if you run a fee for service business. There's a lot of people out there at the moment, guys, that are looking for someone to just do their Amazon for them. And that is a good, viable business. There's a lot of you out there that could do that, but you need to go, is this what I want to do? Because you're basically taking on a job. Yeah. And that's it. You can get staff in to run that, but you need to understand, is this the type of model that I want to do? Am I here to run a private label business, or am I here to work for someone else and sell their product for them? So just be careful, Amanda, is what I would say.
I know. That's why I sort of did a sort of an exit stage left kind of maneuver. But I'd really like to see them succeed. They're a local company and there's lots of good things, but it also did look like attract newbie,
Yeah.
trip for new beginners sort of thing. So yeah, at the moment I just exited stage left, so we'll yeah. Anyway, tricky.
Good question, Amanda. Matt, just so we, because I'm very aware of the time. Are you okay to answer a few more questions, mate?
Yeah, go for it. If everyone's happy to stick around and.
No, loving it, mate. So we've got one from Ahmed here. Is do you recommend any website where you can find only Australian-made products like Aussie Alibaba?
Yeah, there's a website called, like, you know, the Australian-made logo with the kangaroo. Yeah, there's literally a website because it's Australian-made, and you can find products there. Admit, I've been there. Like, a lot of them are like handmade type products, which is not that good because you can't get the volume on those types of things. But there are places out there. Yeah, I have found it's better to go to either the trade shows, caravan shows. I mean, you're just looking at everything. You want to just look at as many products as possible because you just don't know where the opportunity lies.
Good point on that. Yeah, like you mentioned before, start with the trade shows. There's plenty in Australia as well, so you'll definitely find something.
And can I just say too, Perry, I'm just saying how I've done it. Right, there is a million ways to make money in life, online, not online, and I'm just sharing my journey. It's not the only journey that one would take. Yeah.
Can I jump you too a little bit? Because I've known Matt. We started this kind of journey together. We were back in the good old start of Reliable days, PP1, we called it back then, the first kind of coaching group that went through. And Matt's always been really good at going up to people and just talking about stuff, right? He's a people person. In fact, I think you ran for local government or something, didn't you, at one stage, Matt?
I didn't want to go into politics, but I did run for federal politics.
Was it federal? Oh my God.
Federal. That was just federal stuff.
I was like, but what I'm trying to get at is Matt put himself out there, right? Like he kind of talked it down a little bit today. But there was a time there where Matt was on Facebook walking his dog down the road with his face in the camera, talking about what he was doing and how he was going to succeed on Amazon. And he was still selling a chamois, right? And that was where it started for him. I know he's kind of talked that down. And the rest I say it because I love you, Matt, but it's like he was more ass than class, right? He didn't actually know much about what he was doing. And I love you, Matt, and that's exactly what it was. But he just put himself out there and said, I know how to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm putting it out to everybody in the world, and it came to him. So he talks about going to all these trade shows and stuff, but at the end of the day, the deal came to him because he put himself out there requesting to the universe for deals. So, if you've got that kind of ballsy attitude and you're willing to go, this is what I'm after, bring them to me, get your face on Facebook and tell people what you're doing, talk to people about what you're doing, and stuff will make things happen.
Yeah.
That is the master of making things happen.
Yeah, we haven't even got into the psychology of it all, because obviously the brick wall for a lot of people is, I don't want to put my face on social media because what will people say? Yeah. It's so common. Everyone says that.
Yeah.
And once you've broken that barrier, and you don't care what people say. I don't care what people say, and it's easy for me to say now because I can sort of say, well, I've kind of made it, so to speak. But I was still putting myself out there back then. It was very easy. And I didn't really have anything to lose either. I was already broke. So I didn't have any money. It was brutal. It was really, really bad. And if anyone who's been in business, I was on the phone like every quarter to the tax office with, putting GST on payment plans. And it was it was a nightmare. I went into $1 million of debt. I actually ended up getting that from my mum, who took out some of her super, right? And they gave me their money. That's how bad it was, just so we could keep the doors open of this stupid restaurant. And I remember just walking along the road just one day. I was just I never went depressed. Okay. I was not happy with my situation. And that's why I was doing things like, trying to do this and do that. But I remember just walking on the street one day and I was like, God, if only I could just have like a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs and a WRX, which is a Subaru. I said, then I'll be happy. So, and literally that's what I said. It was, so it comes back to really just the simple things, right? And fundamentally, forget about all the money. As long as you've got good health, that is the most important thing.
Oh, great stuff there, man. We had another question from Sachin here as well. When you sell through Shopify in the USA, how do you handle the state taxes? Do you handle it by Shopify like Amazon, or do you have a US based company or Australia based company?
Yeah. Okay. Really quickly, because it's an absolute minefield. I have an Australian based company. I have an Australian based company and a USA company and a UK company. And I use my Australian company to sell products out of Amazon and Shopify, but I have a US company which sells through Walmart and some other platform over there. And then the UK kind of looks after the UK and Europe as well. And then, of course, back then there was all that rubbish that happened with Brexit. So that was an absolute nightmare as well, which is now coming back out of that again. So I have multiple companies, and back to sales tax is that I then had to pay $1 quadrillion to some lawyer over there to find out what my sales tax obligations were. And it turned out that because it's a medical product, it actually was sales tax exempt. And so, yeah, that's the short version.
I appreciate that. And we had a question from Bill here as well, asking about on both Amazon and Shopify, did you have the same price for the product, or was it different prices?
Good point. That's a good question. I sold the product on Amazon for $10 more. And everyone's gonna be like, why would you do that? Because people were going to Amazon and buying because they trust it, and $10 didn't mean anything. They're like, yeah, whatever. We'll just pay an extra $10. So, but I had the price really lower on Shopify because I really wanted them to buy through Shopify ultimately, because then I control the customer and I get their details, etc. And the reason, folks, why you want to build up your customer base ultimately is because it makes your business worth more money.
Great. We had another one from Christine here. It might be a bit difficult to say, but which insurance company do you recommend? Obviously, yeah, whatever you think is best to answer this.
Harry, there is no insurance company really that is like the best. It's just like there's so many insurance companies that can tailor insurance depending on what product you sell and in what country, et cetera, et cetera. All I do is I would find a very good insurance broker and they will handle that for you.
Yeah, there you go. Great answer there. We had one from Michael, and it's including on the insurance, global insurance policy. Where did this cover? Did you get it in the US or in AU? Is what they're asking.
AU.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's through my Australian insurance broker. However, because insurance companies mostly are global, I actually have affiliated parties clause. So like all my other companies are also listed on the Australian-based insurance policy.
Okay, appreciate that. Lisa asking, so Matthew, when you mark up on a wholesale, you're taking the markup rather than the profit share? Great session, by the way, so impressive.
Hey, thank you so much. So in a nutshell, it's not a profit share. That is another different type of model, okay, that I'm not doing, okay? I'm not currently doing. That said, thinking back, I have done it before on a product years ago, where it was like a 50% profit share. So essentially, folks, what that means is I didn't buy the product up front. I did a consignment. The manufacturer gave it to me, put it into Amazon, sold it, and then we took away the cost of goods, and then we took away the Amazon fees, and $50 was left over. I kept 25, and then the manufacturer took their 25. That would be a profit share. But that's not what I'm doing now.
Yeah, another way to structure it, basically. So yeah. Carissa asks, can you recommend a company that can run PPC that you trust, as we have been burnt before hiring one that wasn't what they made out to be?
I can't, unfortunately. I have my own PPC guy, but he's extremely boutique. Okay, he's just like one man band. Okay. And so he's not going to just take on like 50 people and have them bombarded. So I can't even give his details out. He would only really go to someone who, if someone came to me who was like if I was consulting with them or something like that, I would certainly be able to pass those details on, but I can't just blanket give it out. It's really unfortunate. What my suggestion would be is to find not a company, because generally what I've found with companies, and I have had companies before, but I haven't been burnt. I've been really fortunate. But companies will then have agents that work within the company who are like, all over the world. And it's very hard to build up a rapport with them. And perhaps they don't know your product intimately. They're sort of just, punching numbers. Maybe you want to go and find someone, you may even just find these people, Perry, like on Upwork or something.
Yeah.
Who are like a one-man band. They specialize in PPC. You deal with them. They're the person that presses the buttons for your product. That might be a better way. But you might also pay more too, because with the other model is because they're probably using a lot of VAs in Philippines, they can keep their management fee down, and they're working on a scale as well, on a volume number. You're not the only client they're looking after. So can I just touch on that quickly, Perry, is that I started doing PPC myself. Obviously I couldn't afford to pay someone to do PPC. I remember I was doing like $50,000 a month on Amazon USA. And then I thought, you know what, I probably have exhausted my expertise on PPC now. And so that's when I outsourced it then to a PPC expert. And literally the next month, Perry, my sales went to 100,000.
There you go.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for everyone, but that happened to me. So it was a really big eye opener too for me, thinking, wow, why was I just protecting it? So I don't want to pay the $500 a month management fee. I'm going to keep that, when I was missing out on all that extra revenue, I'm not saying that every person is going to be an amazing expert, but I've been very fortunate. The people that I've come across have been very good. And so my lesson has been to outsource. Like, as soon as you've kind of like, you're done with it and you kind of understand it, move it on. In the very beginning, I learned how to do Facebook ads. Facebook ads is a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
And I really learned quickly, I'm not going to sort of like be an expert at this, right? Quickly then found a Facebook management agency, put it with them, and then don't look back.
Yeah, brilliant thing. Learn it to an extent, and then put it on to someone better than yourself who can turn it to the next step. Good advice there, mate. The Warfoes here. Do you have a link on your Shopify store for customers who want to buy on Amazon?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I would rather keep the customer
in one place
to buy. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you might as well just have an ad on Facebook that just goes directly to Amazon, not even to your
exactly.
store. Yeah.
There is again, can I just jump in there too? Because if you are just starting out, then, and we talked about this last week with Kimberly, actually, about Amazon attribution and if you are sending traffic to Amazon from your own sources, so from your Shopify store or something else, you do get a kickback from Amazon, like you get a 10% discount on fees or something or other, if you're registered. And so in the early stages, that can be a better option and she does use that as an option rather than selling through a Shopify store. So that's what she chooses as her business strategy. So there is reasons to do that if you are, particularly if you're just starting out, I think. So anybody who's in Tribe and you want to go and see something on that, then just go and have a look at last week's campfire, because we had a big discussion on that last week. So I think once you get to the scale that Matt's at, though, it's, you don't want to be sending everything to Amazon. You want to keep it and make them all with the margin yourself, right, Matt?
Yeah, and keep the customer details to build your business value.
Yeah, I think you could get it on the way through, though, because you collect it from a landing page. They can put their details in and then still send them.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So Alina's got a really good question here as well. You mentioned that you have an agreement with the manufacturer if he is bought out. What is your exit plan now, and what do you envisage might happen in the next couple of years?
Okay, I'm going to share the big news. And it's not an actual contract or anything, but literally 2 days ago, I've got another product coming out, and it's just been FDA approved. FDA approved. So that's like your moat, right? That's part of the big moat. And just think, I've been trying to get this FDA through since pretty much 2018. So it's taken that long. Now, what that enables me to do is really package up the business as it is and then put it to market. I was just at Adam's house, Adam Hudson, who those who don't know, I was just at his place literally last weekend. And he said, look, the business would be at least 3x, right? So if I just look at last year's net profit, it was 2.1 million. So that's taxable. So we're talking like 6.3 million at a 3x, and I could potentially just sell it for that. But then you got to keep in mind too, you know, why would I? It's really a short personal choice. Why would I sell it if if I could just keep another 3 years, I'd actually make that money back anyway. I'm kind of getting a little bit, I don't want to say shiny new object, but I'm like, maybe I could just cash out of this and retire. Because I went to, and this is the thing too, folks, like I'm always learning as well. You don't get to a certain point of revenue, let's say, and then say, okay, that's it. I'm done with learning. And so I'm always educating myself. I went to Adam's wealth seminar recently, just blown away. And different things resonate with you depending on where you are in your journey. So certain people who went there got something, and I got something else based on where I am. And what I got out of it was the exit strategy. I was like, wow, I kind of hadn't really thought about exit, and I hadn't thought about just putting, you know, millions of dollars into a managed fund, for example, and just living off, you know, I don't know, $50,000 or $100,000 a month, like forever. And so then I started putting in place a strategy to now aim for that within the next 3 to 5 years. Now, what I also have though, is I've used all that profit. I'm going down this other hole now, but those who are interested in what you do with all the money is because I've come from being so broke, I never, ever want to be there again. So I haven't gone out and bought a Ferrari, and I haven't gone and bought a Porsche or anything like that. I've just like property. The first thing I did actually was I paid off all the debt that was associated with the restaurant. That was the first thing. Second thing I did was we were renting at the time. So I saved up like, I think it was like $150,000 deposit within like 4 months. And then like, as you do, and then just then went and bought a house. And this was right before COVID, right? So lucky there, we sort of got in right there, and then the boom happened. And then and I've also then just been buying up commercial property. I've invested a lot into the next problem you have is you got to pay more tax. I'm like, so we're up to the maximum amount you can throw into super, and the maximum amount you can do in this. So I bought a lot into Bitcoin as well, diversified into that. So now I've essentially got this business, the restaurant business, which has subsequently now become really good and makes like 400 or 500 grand a year profit, and that's like the side project now. And then the Bitcoin as well. So if any one of those things comes off in the next 3 to 5 years, and I can just check out of one of them, then that will then set me up for the retirement. That's what I was getting at. So I'm big on diversification. This also comes back to and ties into when Amazon shut me down. So now I'm diversified. You know, I've got the product, but I'm diversified in marketplaces, in countries, in platforms, I diversify into fulfillment centers. I don't have all my stock just tied up in one fulfillment center in America, right? Because what happened during COVID, some of them just shut down. They're like, oh, sorry, we're not sending out any more stock now. And so because I'm utilizing 3 or 4 different warehouses essentially in America, if one shuts down, I'm all good. I can still keep shipping from this place. So everything's diversified, and I'm now thinking about retirement. I think where that person was headed. Retirement is on the plans. And when I say retirement, I mean just not having to do business anymore. But no doubt, I love business, so I'll just morph into something else.
Yeah, that's why everyone's here, right? Because we love business. You never retire when you love the chase of building something new. And it's just all that's changed is now that you have that wealth there, is that you're able to look at things that you've always loved and start building upon that. I just literally was just talking to my wife today, and one thing I want to say too about
back to mindset and goals is, if you don't have someone who's with you on that journey, who's absolutely 110% supporting you and what you do. Like when I made that call to my wife and I said, babe, I know we're in the hole for $1 million, but I want to spend another 25 grand on this coaching guy she'd never met, right? On this thing called Amazon, which wasn't even in Australia. And she was like, yeah, go do that. But you know, she trusted me and of course it all worked out. So my point is that if someone's not in your corner supporting what you're doing, whether you're doing it together or separately, it's going to be extremely difficult. And I meet people all the time. And I literally met a guy who's working on a house I'm renovating, who's a floor layer, and he's in his 50s. And he's like, oh, I used to sell on eBay, but you know, my wife kind of got a bit sick of it and didn't support me and this, that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? Just pulled him down. You could see he was crushed. Like he really wanted to do it. Yeah. And he was doing it, but you know, the wife got this and that. So, and that can work both ways, husband, wife, whatever, but just so important to have that support. Now, if you don't have that support in your household, perhaps you can get it at a place just like E-Comm Tribe. Everyone here, am I right, Perry, is going to be like high-fiving you, like supporting you every step of the way on your journey. And that's so important.
That's why we're here, mate. You know, like it's to motivate and keep your mind and keep people humble as well. You know, that the journey is sometimes a hard one, but it's okay for it to have those hard times, because what happens when you get past it, you learn from it, and you can potentially turn that 100 units into 1,000 units to 100,000 units. You know, so it's just about the chipping away at it and having people around you pushing you in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, and I can just go back to the Uber driving. You know, I was actually in a way, I was embarrassed, you know, because I was supposed to be the successful guy, you know, particularly my family. And I was driving Uber on the weekend. And so I didn't really tell anyone. I told my parents and everything, but, you know, I didn't broadcast it. Right. And it's only now I share that story because I think it's important for people to hear, because sometimes when you look at the position I'm in now, it's like, oh, it must have come pretty easy, but it kind of wasn't, you know? And so I share that, hoping that, you know, if you're in that position now where you're just doing it tough financially and you're having to go do pizza deliveries or whatever it is, I take my hat off to you. You know, you got to do what you got to do to make ends meet. But as long as you keep moving forward and you've got the vision and the goal, that will just keep driving you, right? And hopefully, just even from tonight's conversation, if you just think, wow, that guy Matt, he was doing Uber on the weekends, you know, and now he's like multi-millionaire. So when you're doing the Uber driving, it's all good. Yeah, it's just a means to an end.
That's right. Well, Warfo, did you have a question? The Warfos, did you have another question, mate? Or you're all good? You raised your hand earlier. No, you're all good. No worries. Patricia asked, Matt, how much is your monthly cost fees on Shopify apart from the plan fee?
Okay, apart from the plan fee. Well, there really is no other fees that I can think of. There's certainly merchant fee. So for those who aren't on Shopify, you've got a monthly plan. It comes in different grades. You know, you might start on $99 a month. You get a certain sort of template from Shopify. I'm on the highest plan. So when you go to the highest plan, I think from memory, it's a couple of grand. I could be wrong. Couple of grand a month. And then what happens though is your merchant fee also decreases. And I think at the time I actually negotiated the fee even a little bit less. And it turned out that by putting it in my UK company name, for whatever reason, I know why, because when they do merchant fees, it's based on domestic or international, and it varies across different countries. So by putting it in my UK company, it had a really low international charge. So that's why I could put it in the UK company.
Mate, I just want to say for everyone here, thank you so much, Matt, for sharing your insights and experiences with us. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with us with the tribe? Well, just that I think you guys are in the right place. For those of you who haven't become an official member of the E-Comm Tribe, I would certainly encourage you to do so. It really was instrumental in my journey, just having that connectivity with people, whether it's on Zoom or you're meeting up with masterminds. You just absolutely need that to help you get through those tough times, especially, and celebrations too. You know, like when you've launched on Amazon or you've got your Shopify store open,
no one else really knows. You can't sort of go up, oh, I'm on Amazon. They're like, yeah, whatever. But those people who are doing it with you, they're going to be high-fiving you. That's fantastic. You're just one step further. So that would be my absolute takeaway is to get involved. The great thing about Ecomm too, compared to say Reliable, is it's so cheap. Like the cost is, what is it, $99 or something, Barry?
Correct.
A month. I mean, honestly, yeah. So that would certainly be my takeaway, particularly those who are starting out or sort of trying to get their business to the next level.
Mate, before we give a round of applause to Matt, just a couple of things. I'd like to mention that our next campfire is already underway. We're excited to have one of our students who works in Amazon Fulfillment Center joining us, and they're going to be giving us the behind the scenes tour with videos of what happens on ground zero at Amazon. So do stay tuned with that. And if there are any big questions that anyone has for Matt, it could potentially turn into that Matt comes back and gives us some even more interesting tidbits. It's not like we've talked about this or anything.
Well, maybe. I mean, only if you guys want me to come back in a couple of weeks or a month or whatever it is. There's so much to tell and share and of all my learnings over the years. And just to see how things go. Let's see what the response is, Perry. If they want me to come back, then we can certainly look at that. And I want to thank everyone for coming tonight too. It's been an absolute joy to share the story with you, and hopefully, just like so many people before me who inspired me, where I was just down in the doldrums financially with nothing in my pockets, and I looked up to them and thought, wow, there's someone locally who's doing it, and they literally were like, they had like a yacht and the whole thing, and I was like, wow, amazing. And I hope I've just brushed off some of that energy and inspiration for you all tonight, even if it's in a little way.
Guys, let's all unmute and give a big thank you to Matt. And after that, we'll end the recording and move into the after-hour session. And again, thanks everyone for joining. Matt, you've been absolutely killing it all the way through, man. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much, Matt.
It's good to have you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
Matt. So
Please come
good.
back.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna turn off the recording now, Angela.